Hello, hello. I hope everybody is doing great. And I am so excited to offer this workshop, Parent Training for Psychic Children. If you have any questions while I go through the program and you need to get a hold of me, you can always email me at info@michellehendersonmedium.com. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. But first of all, I wanted to explain who I was and a little bit about me. So, before I even decided to become a psychic medium full time, I worked in a school district in education for almost 30 years. So, I was a teacher to elementary ed students. And then I became an educational diagnostician. And then I became a behavior analyst. And that is when I did a lot of parent training. And so it seems like, the divine always gives us experiences and things that we experience so that we can actually get onto our pathway and help to serve others. So, again, I am so excited and I hope that you get a lot out of this. All right, well, let's go ahead and get started. All right, so let's go ahead and do the agenda. So, today, what we're going to do is we're going to decide why parent training for intuitive children. And then we're going to go over characteristics of children with psychic abilities, including indigo children and children diagnosed with autism. All right. And I think it's really important for us to really dive in so that you understand what a psychic child looks like, what an indigo child looks like, and one who has been diagnosed with autism. Okay. All right. So then we're going to look at why spirituality. Why? And then we're going to look at what intake sessions are all about. And remember, this is lesson one, and there are going to be different lessons. So there's going to be 3 different lessons altogether so that once you watch all of the lessons, workshops, hopefully you'll be able to put a program for yourself. And what I would do is I would own it. So if there's a couple of things that you can get out of this, awesome. All right, because you will be able to help a child. All right, so what I am going to do is go. Why do we need parent training? All right, so a lot of these parents, whenever they have a child that begins to experience psychic experiences or paranormal activities, they're kind of scared themselves. And if they go to a parent and the parent has no idea what to do and is scared themselves, they will be lost. And so really knowledge is powerful. Okay. And then what's next when they finish the training? So if you ever watch the A&E Psychic Kids, these children, and it's a very good program, but of course, it's on TV, and a lot of these TV shows are staged. So, but whenever you watch a psychic medium come in to help these children, you see them work with the child and talk to the parents, but they're really not training the parents. So once they leave and leave and help the children, what's going to happen next? And as you know, this is a process. Once you get through one level of spiritual experiences, something else is going to happen along the way as you get more and more developed. And so these children all may need to be on a consult basis for a long time. So it just depends on each child and each family. So that's one reason why I thought, oh my gosh, it would be perfect for parent training, because you're not really, when you go in to help a family, you are working with the child, but you're mainly working with the family. And so this is because once you leave, they need to know, they need to have some skills in their little treasure chest to pull out and be able to work with their children. So you will be assisting children to fulfill their spiritual journey by helping their parents. And whenever you look at a child and through a child's eye, you it's awesome. That's one thing that we need to do is always look at the world as a child would. Very innocent. And that's why I think the spirit world loves children, because they're so innocent and they haven't learned how to block everything out like adults do. It's almost like planting a seed. The more that you nourish the seed, it will become a beautiful green plant. And so that's what we need to do, is we need to keep nourishing these children spiritually so that they're able to get on with their spiritual lives. Okay. So knowledge is powerful. So parents need spiritual knowledge to help them embrace and mature their children's intuitive abilities. Just like the plant, they need a spiritual knowledge to be able to help them, grow and everything spiritually. All right. So let's look at the next side. All right, let's first talk about intuitive children and what a lot of these characteristics are. Now, this is only some of the characteristics. There is, I'm sure, depending on the child, depending on the situation, there is probably a book full of what characteristics these children have. So, this is just some of them, okay? So, some of them will display, or should I say some of them? Most of them will display empathy. And what that means is they're going to feel how others feel. If somebody gets hurt on the playground, they're going to feel the way that they feel. And they may not really understand it, they may start crying and really feel that emotion of the child that was hurt. So they don't understand how to explain that. They don't know how to express that. And sometimes they'll be in a grocery store, maybe with their mother, and waiting in line, and all of a sudden they get angry and they're looking around going, why am I angry? There's no reason. I'm not angry. They're picking up on another person who is feeling angry. They may have imaginary friends. And a lot of parents will become a little bit skeptical, a little bit scared. Oh my gosh, this imaginary friend is actually someone who has been deceased for a long time or a short time. Or it may be someone that is earthbound, is in the house, and becomes their friend. And there's nothing to be afraid of. And we're going to talk about that later. They may be sensitive to the energy in different environments. Now, I know whenever I was younger, and I noticed this, is I would go into antique stores. And antique furniture, oh my goodness, picks up all the energy of the owner, whoever owned the item. And so a lot of times these children will be very sensitive and they won't understand why they're feeling the energy. They may be seeing and talking to deceased loved ones. I mean, grandparents love to come and visit, right? And because the children are so young and they haven't blocked that energy and they don't know any different, they allow it. Okay. Now they may remember past lives. And I found this very, very interesting. There is a movie about this that talks about children remembering their past lives. And as they get older, they tend to forget more and more as they grow. And I think that is for purpose. I mean, we're here to learn in this lifetime. We may learn something different in a different lifetime. So I think that's why we tend to forget things as we live and be reincarnated in a different life. They tend to bond with animals. They understand what the animals are thinking. They may be able to feel how they're feeling, like being an empath, or they may be able to telepathically talk with them. And a lot of the times, these children are so creative. A lot of them are musicians, a lot of them are actors, or a lot of them are just, have you ever met that person who is just not really, living in their own world and they're just so creative? Okay, I'm sure they've got a little bit intuitive in them. And also, they have very vivid dreams. And sometimes they travel in their dreams and they can remember it. It can be so vivid, like they're out there. And it's almost like an out of body experience. So, that is a lot of the characteristics of intuitive children. And again, that is just only a list. All right, so let's go on to the next thing. Okay. let me see if I can put this on the screen so it's bigger for you to see. There is a book, Your Psychic Child, and I would recommend it. I'm going to give you some resources to read along the way. Okay. Sarah Wiseman, and she is a parent of children who exhibit intuitive abilities. So, and I think this is very smart, very brilliant, because being a teacher, you do look at different age levels, what a child can do. You don't expect a child to learn Texas history. And I'm talking very intensive, they can learn different Texas history, but not like they can in the fourth grade. So, as a child is in kindergarten, they may learn the very basic things about Texas. And then as they get older, you add more and more and more. As like in fourth grade, they learn about the different battles. Well, in kindergarten, you're not going to really teach about the different battles because they may not be ready for it. So that's one thing that you have to look at whenever you're providing a spiritual program for a child. You need to know where they are age wise. And Sarah kind of helps us look at this. So she provides age level behaviors for children. So between the ages of 3 and 5, yes, you may be working with really young children. They are curious about everything. And that's why they get into cabinets and, again, they don't see anything wrong with it, right? So, but at night, they may feel those different energies in the environment. They may feel spirit and become afraid. And they may see things in the dark. They may think there's monsters under their bed. So you may have to really deal with this and know how to give them strategies to be able to help them not to be as afraid. So, and between the ages of 6 and 8. They become independent thinkers. Which we all know that between that age, they become very independent. They don't want to do what their mother asks them. A lot of no's in there. They may be popular among peers, so friendships are beginning to become important to them. They may be accepted, they are considering what they want to do in the future a little bit. Okay, they're beginning to have a self identity between the ages of 6 and 8. And they're very rigid. I know, I know that some children, second, third grade, if a child didn't follow the rules, they would go and tattle. Go to the teacher and tattle that this child did not follow the rules. So they're really rigid rule followers at this time. All right. So, but they can also be taught different strategies, such as, short timed meditations. And I did say short timed. So you don't want them to do, and we'll talk again about this later, but you don't want them meditating for a very long time. Okay. You may be able to teach them breathing exercises so that whenever they get anxious, they know what kind of breathing exercise to do, and also begin to teach them yoga. So you may be able to do that. Now, between the ages of 9 and 12, all right, children will feel more peer pressure. They want to be accepted more, so they may hide a lot of their intuitive abilities. They may not want others to know about what they're doing, okay? And they may become isolated from their family because they're trying to find themselves. And I remember, going into my bedroom, closing the door, and just being by myself. So you may see the children want to do that. When you ask them questions, they may go, I don't know. I don't want to talk about it. So, yes, so they're beginning to show a little bit of attitude, but that's a lot of the independence, right? But they also can able to participate in yoga sessions, and they may be able to begin to work on their intuitive skills. So you can actually really talk to them about it. Now, between 13 and 15, as we know, middle school age, right? They're going through puberty. Again, they're beginning to try to find their self identity. They're having difficulties really control their emotions because of the hormonal changes and everything. You may see emotion meltdown, middle school. And again, they may close up and not want to talk. Okay. But as when you look at the intuitiveness, it may be as strong as an adult. So they may have already gone through their spiritual awakening, and they may know, certain things and really may not understand it, but know that they actually have the intuitiveness, but they may hide it. So that's one thing that we need to figure out. Now, whenever they become 16, if they are mature ready, they can actually do some psychic readings and be able to offer some services, because a lot of times children at 16 they are able to find jobs, and so they can actually work as a psychic medium. So, but again, they have to have a lot of maturity, because sometimes when spirit gives you certain things, you need to be ready for it. So they may not be able to handle it. So if a child can't handle doing the psychic abilities at a time, do not push it. All right. So that Sarah Wiseman, I mean, she really, it's a wonderful book to get. And I would recommend it. It would give you some extra tools in your treasure box, as I might say. So let's go ahead and talk about indigo children. And this is so fascinating, very, very fascinating. And this is actually, it started in the late 60s, early 70s. And so Nancy Ann Tate, what she did is she stated that indigo children are spiritually involved souls reincarnating on earth, born with purpose of starting a spiritual evolution for all humans. And so Nancy was able to see colors, see people's auras. And so whenever she worked with children, she saw that purple hue around them. So that's why she named them indigo children. And it is very, very fascinating. A lot of these children are aware of the spiritual world, since they're very teeny tiny, because that's why they are here, is to help us evolve spiritually. They expect others to live as they do. In other words, they integrity. They want everybody to be honest, respectful, prideful, being responsible, generating trust, demonstrating responsibility, and helping others are important values that they cherish. They do not understand why others have different philosophies other than their own, because they feel so strong that it is the right thing. And they will live their life feeling that the world is a false reality. So if you meet somebody and they keep going, this is not our reality, this is an illusion, well, that is how the indigo children think. They become leaders in their personality. So a lot of times they will not reform to whatever society rules have. And so they may do a lot of demonstrations, say, nope, I'm not going to do it. They may feel like they're lost souls. So a lot of them will become depressed. And a lot of times they'll turn to drugs because they feel like they're lost and they don't belong here. And which is a sad thing about indigo children. But I wanted to share this with you. Doreen Virtue stated, there is a correlation between attention deficit issues and being spiritually evolved. And she put that ADHD stands for attention dials to higher dimensions. It does not mean it's attention deficit, okay? Hyper disorder. So and I love that. Absolutely love that. Because a lot of ADHD children, what do they have? A lot of energy, right? Okay. All right. So the next thing that I want to talk about is, because you are working with children, you may actually work with a child that has been diagnosed under the autism spectrum disorders. And William Stillman is a psychic medium who has been diagnosed with a higher functioning of an autism spectrum disorder. And the DSM-5 has changed, and the manual has changed what the definition of what autism is. So back with DSM-4, he was diagnosed with what was called Asperger's. And so that's what he grew up with. And he always talks about that he has Asperger's. Nowadays, because the DSM-5 does not recognize Asperger's. They just call it higher functioning autism. So I just kind of want to distinguish why that is a little bit different. But he wrote Autism and the God Connection, and it's a very fascinating book. Okay, and so the reason why he feels like there are so many children that are diagnosed with autism is, and he quoted this: reflection of our recent history is that the world requires more love, compassion, and tolerance amidst ever mounting global concerns. This is our Creator's purpose, plan to refocus us on the importance of reverence for all humanity. After all, so many individuals with autism are all about love. And that is very true. Working with children for so long, they do have a lot of love and a lot of compassion. They may not have good social skills, but they know how to love other people. And they may, have sensory issues and have meltdowns and everything else, but they just show all of this love. So don't be surprised if you do have a child that has been diagnosed with autism. And one thing that William Stillman talks about is a lot of the children with autism actually are able to talk telepathically. So if they're nonverbal, they're not able to talk, sometimes um, they can hear you in your mind's eye. So if you ever want to, check this out when you're with a child with autism that's nonverbal and see if they can actually hear you, say maybe touch your nose with your hand and see if they can do that. They can actually listen to you telepathically. So, which is so, so interesting. And a lot of them can actually see um, people who have crossed over, a lot of spirits. Okay. And so he's saying it's a natural thing that occurs whenever somebody connects with the supernatural world. So, which I love that. All right, so let's go on to the next one. And the next question is, why do we need to look at spirituality? Okay. And spirituality is, a lot of times whenever you're working with psychic children or children with intuitive abilities, you do need to look at the spiritual aspects of it. And I'll tell you why. Lisa Miller, and professor of psychology and education at Columbus University, and you can actually see her do a talk on it on YouTube. All right, and this is one thing that she concluded. Science has concluded spirituality is inborn, fundamental to human constitution, central in our physiology and psychology. Spirituality links brain, mind, and body. So, which is so important for us, okay? All right. So, whenever you work with children with psychic abilities, you really need to look at the spirituality aspect, the aspect of spirituality. It's because whenever children have a relationship with the divine, that whenever they go through trauma or difficulties in their lives, they will turn to the divine for guidance. They will not turn to drugs. They will not turn to alcohol. So it's very important for them to have some type of spirituality in their life. Now, I'm not talking about religion, I'm talking about being close to the divine. And I know everybody has different definitions of what spirituality actually is. So parents can actually hinder the spiritual growth in the child by ignoring their spiritual awakening. Anytime they tell them about their experiences or questions and they ignore that, they can actually stunt the growth of the spirituality in a child's life. Okay. So, when working with children and their families, it is important and understand what the family's religious or spiritual beliefs are. And of course, do it without judgment. All right. So, children overall, and this is so important to remember before we go on, children should continue to grow spiritually. All right, so let's go to the next section. Now, this next section is going to talk about, we're going to talk about intake. And what an intake session is when you first talk to the parents and say, why are you coming to me? What can I do for you? And this is very important because if you talk with the adult and with the parent, and you're going, I don't think this is my area of expertise. I don't know if I can help this parent. This is the time to know this. And you should always have a resource book that you can tell the parents, well, I think you need to go to this individual for more services because I don't think I can help you. So don't ever turn a parent away when they come to you. Always give them a resource in hand so that they know where to go to next, especially if you don't feel like you can help them. Now, whenever you are working with a child and the family, you are still using your intuitiveness. But sometimes there are some factors that come in that you're not too sure about or you don't feel comfortable about, and you need to follow the intuition. Okay. So, so again, when parents come to you, a lot of times they're afraid to go to a medical doctor because they're afraid that their child will be put on medicine. If they go to a counselor or to a psychiatrist, then they may find themselves in financial need. And still, their child may be put onto drugs. If they go to the church, they may feel judged and they may not feel supported and may look for alternativeness answers. If they go to a holistic healer, they may feel fearful that it may not work. And sadly, the spiritual crosses will continue for years. So that's what I'm saying. It's just like, where do I go when I want to help my child and my family? So always have a resource for them. And even if you are helping them, give them other resources that they can think about. All right. So let's go on to what this looks like. All right. So whenever you're talking to parents, this is the informational piece. It's almost like when you're building a tower. You're able to see the whole child, to see what the family has experienced with this child and what this child has been through. You will know them. Okay. So that each piece is so important. All right. So whenever you begin a form, and I always have parents complete this form and it has questions and it has information on it. It's almost like when you go to a medical doctor and you complete this form, then you give it to the doctor and the doctor is able to just look at the short answers and then they can ask you verbally questions that they have them. And it's basically the same thing. Sometimes people will write things down and they'll give you a lot more information than they will when they're meeting with you. They may get nervous at that time, but whenever they're able to fill something out, they'll feel really good about it. And another thing about an intake session, it will actually make you look so professional and you will get the trust in these parents because when you're asking all of these questions, they're thinking, oh my goodness, they really do want to know a lot about our family and what we've been through so that they can develop a great plan to help us. So, whenever you, at the very top of your form, always put what your business name is. All right. So, I put Michelle Henderson Medium. And what type of service? Because I offer several different services, right? But for them, I'm offering a spiritual family service. And then what it is, it's an intake questionnaire. And then always put that it's confidential. That is so important that they know that you're not going to call somebody else and say, guess what? I'm seeing somebody, and you give them all this information. So make sure that you tell them it is confidential. Anything that you tell me will be locked away and no one else will know about it. That way, the family and the parent will feel very comfortable giving you this information. Okay. So, and then it's important to know who is completing this form because if dad is not around, you may get more information from dad as well. So, you might want both parents to complete the same form. Then describe in detail why they want spiritual family services, or how, and also it's very important to know how long the child has experienced these events or these issues, because that will tell you if it's become a habit or something they've been having to deal with a long time. And usually if they've been dealing with it for a long time, it takes a lot more strategies, a lot more work on your part. And it's always important to know how old the child is. Okay. So, the first thing that you need to know, and will be on the questionnaire, is how are these events affecting this child's world, their life? Okay. So, is it affecting their daily life? Are they not able to function because of everything that's going on? Academically, is it affecting their concentration at school, completing homework? Is it, are their grades all of a sudden going down? Is it affecting family relationships? Is it affecting them socially? Are they being isolated from their friends? Okay, so this is very important information for you to know as you go on. All right, I love this. So you're not going to be able to see all of it because my picture's in the way, but I'll show you. I'll try to show you in just a little bit. But this is all these behaviors that you see here are behaviors that psychic children display. And so it's very beneficial that you know what they are showing. So circle the behaviors that you see your child do. So it's so important to know. Most of our children, hopefully are not anxious or worried, but it would be very important for you to know that. If they are using tools such as an Ouija board, that is very important for you to know. Or if they're using tools such as cards, oracle cards, that would be nice to know as well. So, a lot of these characteristics and behaviors are important for you to know. So, if you know that they meditate daily, that's going to really help you develop a good program for them. You already know that they know how to meditate. Okay. I'm just going to leave this up for just a few seconds. I'm going to go ahead and hide myself so that you can finish reading the rest of it, and then I'll come back. And you may think of some other behaviors that you want to add to it. Again, this is not the full list. You can add or take away if you don't feel comfortable with certain things. Okay. All right. So another thing, and we have already talked about this because of spirituality and everything, but you need to know what kind of religious preferences that they have so that you know how to approach the family. Um, so the family may feel uncomfortable if you're implementing certain things based upon the religious practices. So you want to make sure that they feel comfortable with everything. So if you're telling them to use sage, to clear out their room, a lot of religions, are afraid of that. So you need to make sure that whatever you're going to suggest in the program correlates with the family's beliefs. Or what they're going to do is they're going to throw out whatever you're recommending. So that's why it is so important for you to know what they believe in and what their practices are. All right. So, and another thing that we have talked about, or some of it, is medical information. And a lot of parents may not feel comfortable giving you all the information, and it's okay. So you just get out as much as you can. Okay. So it's important if they've gone through cancer, because that just means that they've been in the hospital a lot. They may have had some near death experiences based upon a lot of their medical problems. They may have hearing issues, very important to know, vision problems, sensory integration disorder, and we're going to talk about that in just a few minutes. But what this means is, are there a lot of children with autism have an overdrive and a lot of the sensory issues? If you are like eating and you scrape your fork against the plate, they're going to hear that so loud they may cover their ears. So a lot of times they will hear hearing devices that cover their ears so that they don't hear anything. So that's what that means. And then mental history, you want to know if they have that ADHD, autism, anxiety, learning disabilities, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, that your child has been diagnosed. It's really good information, and I'm going to explain why. Okay. There was actually a study, and I'm going to share this study with you. Okay, so Philip Corlett, Albert Powers, and Megan Kelly did a study. And what they did is they completed a study that compared people who have clairaudient medium abilities. And this means that they can hear voices whenever they're doing mediumship. They're connecting with spirit. With people who have been diagnosed with a psychotic disorder, who hear voices on a daily basis. So they're actually hearing voices as well, but it's a little bit different. So what they have found is, we found that the hallucinatory experiences of psychic voice hearers to be very similar to those of patients who were diagnosed with, of course, with psychotic behaviors. Okay, so we employed techniques from forensic psychiatry to conclude that the psychics were not malingering. And what that means is, a psychic who was actually true, generally true. In other words, they weren't making it up, or they weren't hearing it from being an illness, that it was actually a spiritual event happening. Okay. And so, what they concluded in this is that the mediums, whenever they were hearing the voices and connecting with spirit, with a loved one who has crossed over, or spirits, that they were actually feeling it. It was a spiritual feeling. Okay. They felt uplifted, they felt really good. But people who were diagnosed with psychotic disorders, they felt like their brain was on fire. They were confused. They were scared. They're going, I don't know what's going on. So that's what they found in their study, that there is a difference. Because a lot of the children, you may find out, have gone to a psychiatrist and been diagnosed being schizophrenic, and that they're actually hearing voices. Now, if you work with a child and these voices are telling them to do something bad, or they're telling them to hurt themselves or anything like this, yes, I would definitely tell the parents to take them to a doctor. Because spirit will not do that. It's more of a spiritual experience. So I wanted to conclude the study because I found that just fascinating, that they were able to distinguish whenever a medium uses clairaudient to be able to hear those voices, more of a spiritual experience. And then you have the people who have psychotic disorders, who hear the voices that scare them. It confuses them. It may tell them to do bad things. That's what the difference is. So fascinating. All right. So to continue with the services, you need to make sure that the family understands that what you're providing is a holistic approach. Now, if you are a licensed counselor or a licensed physician, you can't do psychic mediumship. It is a totally different service. So you just need to make sure that the parents understand it is a holistic approach and that you're looking at everything. That's why you're asking all these questions. And instead of them checking yes or no, make sure that they initial it. And I'll tell you why. Because a lot of people can check a yes or no and go, I don't know. I don't remember checking yes or no. But if they initial it, they'll remember, they can say their initial and say, oh, yes, that is my initial. So that's why you don't just want the parents to check it. Okay. You want them to initial the statement. All right. All right. So there's another thing that you need to. So there's a lot of progress here. Okay. I think this is the one that we just talked about. Okay. All right. No, this is, I'm sorry. I thought this was a different slide. Okay. So when looking at services, again, you want them to understand that you are providing services as a psychic medium or a medium or whatever, you're doing holistically or energy work, but this will not include services such as medical, counseling, behavior, psychiatric services. Okay. If they need that, I always say resources will be provided to assist you and your child during the services. So that they understand that if you feel like they need to go see a doctor, that you will give them that resource. Again, get them to initial it, not just check it. Okay. All right. So here's another thing that probably needs to be on your form is, do you understand that all the information is offered for personal and entertainment? Because as we all know, that in the United States, that psychic mediumship is for entertainment purposes only. And so just to make sure that they understand that. Now, a lot of them may go, what do you mean it's entertainment purposes, right? Just say that's how the United States looks at when you go to a psychic medium, that it's for entertainment purposes only. But what I really like about this is that that clients are able to make their own choice. That you're providing a service, you're guiding them, but you're not going to tell them exactly what to do. So they have free will. They can stop the services at any time. And so it's very important for you to talk to your parents about this. And then again, get them to initial. And then the very last thing that you want to provide them to sign, and this is not initial, this is actually a signature, is that you have completed all the form, that they've completed all the form and information accurately, okay, to their knowledge, and that they are giving you permission to continue with a program. So this is very important because they're saying, yes, we want you to continue to help us. Okay. So this is very important. As through the whole process, you want to take the parent's hand step by step so that they know and they understand everything that you're going to provide. And we're going to do that. And we're going to talk about different implementations and different services that you can provide at a different time. Okay, so another thing is, do not forget to talk to the parents about payment and when it is due. And talk about, how much the services are. And even the intake session, you need to charge. Okay. So everything that you need to charge the parents and also tell them when it is due. Because we live in a busy world and sometimes, they may not remember. They might think, oh my gosh, I forgot to pay you. Just so that, again, everybody agrees on everything. Make sure they understand when to pay you, when it is due. All right, so we have talked about why we need to offer parent training. All right, these parents need that knowledge to be able to help their child continue on their spiritual journey. We don't want a child to just forget whatever, abilities that they have that God has given them. We don't want them to close that door until when it's later in life, okay? There's always a reason for everything. But parents really need this knowledge to be able to nurture their child's spirituality. Okay, we talked about the different characteristics of psychic children, indigo children, and children with autism. And it's just very important to understand because some parents may go, "Oh, my child is an indigo." You'll understand. It's kind of an old term, but some people still really hold on to that. And so if somebody says that, you will understand completely. And it's very important for you to know what kind of characteristics and behaviors that your child that you're helping is actually exhibiting. We talked about why it is important for a child to have spirituality. They need to have that relationship with the divine. Because if they don't and things get difficult, they're going to turn to the dark side. And we're going to talk about that later as well. And so then the last thing that we talked about, all those wonderful forms that everybody doesn't want to do, is considered the intake session. And that is so important for you to have before you even see the child, before you even begin your program. You got to know where the family is coming from, what religion experiences they have come, the background, what the child has been diagnosed. Oh my goodness. So as you can see, there is a lot to do before you begin to develop a program. You've got to have those building blocks to be able to develop a wonderful program that you're going to develop. All right, so on the next workshop, it's full of lessons, right? And so these are the things that we're going to go through. Lesson 2, or you can call it workshop 2, that will be offered. So if you feel like this was a great workshop for you and you feel like, oh my gosh, I want to continue with this speaks to me, please do continue. Okay. So what we're going to talk about in the next workshop or the next lesson is we're going to develop a program. And what this consists is there's different terminologies. And I know a lot of people that are in the psychic medium business, spiritual business already know all of this, but sometimes your parents need to have this. So it kind of gives you a resource that you can pull, you can copy it, give it to the parents. So you need to really, again, you're teaching the parents. All right, so excuse me, and then you're also going to be given different resources that you can use to be able to supplement your program. You're going to learn how to work with energy, how to teach the children how to work with different types of energy. You're going to learn about different activities that are actually fun for the kids. If the kids are not having fun and you're not having fun, they're not going to learn anything. And then you're going to, most of all, this is so important, teach the child how to be take control of their own life. Okay. And the more that they are in control, the more that they're going to want to develop their spirituality or their intuitive abilities. And then, which I'd love, is teaching art. And you would be surprised at how children, because children are so creative, how this art can actually develop a stronger intuitive ability. It's almost like automatic writing. And if they learn at a younger age, you will not be able to stop them. They will want to learn more and more and more. And they, as you know, as a psychic medium, you feel that energy, you feel the light, you feel good. The children are going to feel good as well. Okay, so I hope that you have taken a lot of this and you're going, oh, I want to start tomorrow. One thing at a time, right? So hopefully you are going to really think about what you want to include in your program. Some of this may be too much for you. And again, this is just to kind of get you thinking, brainstorming on how you can develop the best program for a psychic child and a family that really need the guidance that you can provide because you have been there. You have experienced this and they need that. So much blessings to you. And I wish you much luck and I hope to see you during lesson 2. All right, many blessings.